The great hall of the Galactic Assembly Station hummed with 1,000 different voices. Ambassador Zin stood near the viewing window, watching ships come and go from the docking ports. The young Velshara had smooth gray skin that changed colors with emotion, and right now it showed hints of blue, the color of curiosity. "Tell me again about the humans," Zin asked the old Krevesh warrior sitting nearby. Kargoth laughed, a deep rumbling sound that made his scales rattle. "Which story do you want, little one?" "There are so many." This was true. Everyone had stories about humans. The problem was that no two stories matched. Some said humans were 3 meters tall. Others said they were small and quick. Some said they had 4 arms. Others said 2. The only thing everyone agreed on was that humans had visited the galaxy once, 300 years ago, and then disappeared. "The true story," Zin said. Kargoth's eyes, yellow and slitted like a snake's, looked at Zin with something like pity. "Truth? The truth is boring, young ambassador. A human ship came to the Kelthuran system. It tried to make contact. Some pirates attacked them. The humans defended themselves and left. That is all we know for certain. But the legends are legends," Kargoth finished. "My people say the humans felt no fear. They charged into battle singing songs of death. We honor them as the perfect warriors." He paused. "But the Chixtar say humans could survive any poison because they evolved on a death world. And the Velshara say they could speak directly to machines with their minds." Zin's skin flickered with orange. Frustration. "All of these cannot be true." "Perhaps none of them are true," said a clicking voice. A Chixtar engineer named Tikvex approached on 6 legs, mandibles twitching. "Perhaps humans never existed at all. Perhaps the whole thing was a hoax." "There are records," Zin protested. "Fragments," Tikvex clicked. "Pieces of data. A few blurry images. One short video of their ship jumping away. Nothing solid. This was what drove Zin crazy. The assembly had advanced technology. They could scan a planet from 100 light-years away. They could track every ship in known space. But they could not agree on basic facts about a species that had visited them 3 centuries ago. The truth was that no one had tried very hard to find out. The human encounter had been brief. By the time the assembly organized a response, the humans were gone. Search expeditions found nothing. After a few decades, most people assumed the humans had died out, or simply decided to avoid the galaxy. They became a curiosity, a mystery, and then slowly they became legends. Every species added their own interpretation. The peaceful Velshara made humans into wise mystics. The warrior Krevesh made them into fearless fighters. The practical Chixtar made them into master survivors. Each species saw in humans what they valued most in themselves. Zin had been studying the human mystery for 2 years. It started as a simple research project for the Diplomatic Academy, but the more Zin learned, the more the pieces did not fit together. Why had the humans left so quickly? Why had they never returned? And most puzzling, why had they been alone? The records, fragmentary as they were, showed that the human ship was a deep space explorer. It carried a crew of about 200. But where had they come from? The humans had pointed toward a region of space they called Sol System. But when scouts went there, they found nothing. Empty space. No planets capable of supporting life. No signs of civilization. It was as if the humans had appeared from nowhere and vanished back into nothing. Zin spent hours in the archives, going through old sensor logs and communication records. The human ship had transmitted basic mathematical greetings. They had shared some star charts. They had seemed friendly and curious. Then the pirates attacked, thinking the strange vessel was easy prey. They learned quickly that it was not. The human ship had weapons, but they were different from anything the galaxy used. Instead of energy beams, they fired solid projectiles at incredible speeds. The pirates' shields, designed to deflect energy, did nothing against chunks of metal moving at a fraction of light speed. 3 pirate ships were destroyed in seconds. The humans had then left immediately, jumping out of the system. The assembly had been shocked. Not by the violence, piracy was common, but by the efficiency. The humans had not hesitated. They had not warned. They had simply eliminated the threat and departed. Later analysis of the wreckage showed the human weapons were primitive compared to galactic technology. They relied on kinetic force and chemical explosives. But they worked. And they worked well. This was another piece that did not fit the legends. The mystical, wise humans of Velshara stories would not have destroyed 3 ships so quickly. The fearless warrior humans of Krevesh tales would have stayed to fight more. The survivor humans of Chixtar legends would have been more cautious. Zin was examining a 300-year-old sensor log when something unusual appeared on the screen. It was a signal, very faint, at the edge of detection range. The archive system flagged it as background noise, but something about it made Zin look closer. It was a distress beacon, very old, still transmitting. Zin ran the signal through every analysis program available. The results made the young ambassador's skin flash bright yellow, excitement mixed with fear. The beacon's signature matched the human ship, exactly. For a week, Zin said nothing. The young Velshara checked and rechecked the data. Ran simulations. Consulted with navigation specialists without telling them what it was for. The beacon was real. It was transmitting from a system at the very edge of explored space, in a region most ships avoided because of dangerous radiation fields. Finally, Zin brought the finding to the Assembly Council. The reaction was not what Zin had hoped. 300 years old? Council leader Murtoth said, looking bored. Even if this is a human signal, they are long dead. But we should investigate. Why? Asked another council member, a Chixtar named Vexilon. What purpose would it serve? To learn the truth, Zin said. To understand where they came from. To know if they still exist somewhere. They are myths, Murtoth said firmly. Useful myths. Every species has made humans into something that inspires them. Why ruin that with disappointing reality? Because truth matters, Zin insisted. The council voted. 12 members against, 3 in favor. The motion to investigate was rejected. The assembly had more important matters. Trade disputes, border conflicts, resource allocation. The mystery of a dead species could wait. Zin left the council chambers with skin dark purple, the color of determination. If the assembly would not seek the truth, then Zin would. Over the next weeks, the young ambassador quietly contacted others who believed. Kargoth, the Krevesh warrior, who dreamed of meeting the legendary fighters. Tikvex, the Chixtar engineer, whose skepticism was really curiosity in disguise. A Velshara pilot named Shen who wanted adventure. A few others, they were not many. They had one small ship. They had limited supplies. But they had something more important. They had a beacon that had been calling across the void for 300 years, waiting for someone to answer. The night before they left, Zin stood at the viewing window again, looking at the stars. Somewhere out there, in the darkness and radiation and danger, lay the truth about humanity. Whether that truth matched the legends did not matter anymore. What mattered was finding it. The journey took 16 days. Zin's small crew traveled in a research vessel called the Wandering Star. It was not built for this kind of trip. Every day, Tikvex had to repair something new. A failing cooling system, a cracked power relay, a navigation sensor that kept giving false readings. This ship is held together by hope and stupidity, the Chixtar engineer clicked one morning. That describes this whole expedition. Kargoth rumbled from his seat. The big Krevesh was too large for the ship's furniture. He sat on the floor instead, sharpening a blade that would be useless in space combat but seemed to make him feel better. As they traveled farther from the assembly's territory, the space around them became more hostile. Radiation levels increased. Strange stellar phenomena made navigation difficult. Twice they had to detour around regions where their sensors simply stopped working. Why would anyone come here? Shen asked, piloting the ship through another dangerous area. Maybe they did not come here by choice, Zin suggested. Maybe something forced them. On the 15th day, they detected the beacon clearly for the first time. It was stronger now, pulsing in a steady rhythm that sounded almost like a heartbeat. Tikvex analyzed the signal. It is definitely human, the engineer confirmed. Same technology signature as the historical records. But the signal is too strong to be 300 years old. Either their technology is much better than we thought, or someone has been maintaining it, Zin finished. The crew fell silent. The possibility that humans still existed here, in this dangerous corner of space, seemed impossible, yet the evidence was right in front of them. The 16th day brought their answer. They emerged from a jump into a system with 1 dying red star and 5 planets. 4 were lifeless rocks. The 5th was a moon orbiting a gas giant, barely able to hold an atmosphere. And in orbit around that moon was the largest ship any of them had ever seen. It was not a warship. It was a generation ship, designed to carry thousands of people across the vast distances between stars. The vessel was ancient, scarred by centuries of radiation and micrometeorite impacts. Parts of it were clearly not original, jury-rigged repairs using whatever materials were available. But it was intact, and according to sensors it was still occupied. By the ancestors, Kargoth whispered. They survived. Scan the moon, Zin ordered. What the sensors showed was even more surprising. There was a colony on the surface. Small, built into canyons and underground caverns for protection from radiation. The population read at approximately 15,000. The technology level was mixed. Some areas showed advanced power signatures, others looked primitive. They have been here the whole time, Shen said in amazement. 300 years and they never left. They could not leave, Tikvex corrected, studying the data. Look at the generation ship. The jump drive is gutted. They took it apart and used the components to build the colony. This was meant to be temporary, but they got stranded. We need to make contact, Zin said. They might not be friendly, Kargoth warned. 300 years of isolation. They might think we are the ones who abandoned them. Or they might think we are the ones who attacked their ancestors, Tikvex added. But there was no choice. They had come this far. Zin opened a communication channel using the basic mathematical greetings from the historical records. For a long time there was no response. Then suddenly a voice came through the speakers. It spoke in a language none of them understood at first. But the ship's computer had the old human language files. It translated slowly, word by word. Unidentified vessel. State your origin and purpose. You have entered human territory. You will respond or be fired upon. The voice was flat, emotionless. It reminded Zin of a soldier speaking, not a diplomat. Kargoth had been right. These might not be friendly humans. Zin responded carefully, explaining who they were and why they had come. The silence that followed was even longer than before. When the voice returned, it sounded different. Still cautious, but with a hint of something else. Surprise, maybe. Or disbelief. You came looking for us? After 300 years? Yes, Zin said simply, another long pause. Then maintain your current position. Do not approach the moon. Do not approach the colony ship. A shuttle will come to you. If you deviate from your position, you will be destroyed. Understand? Understood. The shuttle that arrived 2 hours later was a patchwork vessel, clearly built from salvaged parts. It carried 4 humans in environment suits. They came aboard the wandering star carefully, weapons visible but not aimed. The lead human removed their helmet. She was shorter than the legend said, maybe 1.5 meters tall. Her skin was darker than Zin expected, weathered by harsh conditions. Her hair was black with streaks of gray, cut short for practicality. Her eyes were brown and hard, like someone who had seen too much difficulty. She looked at each of the crew members in turn, her expression unreadable. My name is Commander Sarah Chen, she said in accented but clear galactic common language. Welcome to humanity's last stand. Over the next hours, Chen explained their history. The generation ship Icarus Rising had followed the Prometheus Dawn on humanity's second attempt at making contact with the galaxy. But something had gone wrong during the jump. They emerged in this system, far from their intended destination, with their drive damaged beyond repair. They had expected a rescue. The Prometheus Dawn should have returned to Earth, should have sent help. But no help came. Years passed. Then decades. The humans on the Icarus Rising realized they were alone. They had to survive. We adapted, Chen said, her voice hard. We learned to live on a moon that wants to kill us. We rationed. We fought over resources. We had civil wars. We almost went extinct twice. But we survived. Why did you not try to signal for help? Shen asked. Chen's laugh was bitter. We did. For 50 years we broadcast distress signals. No one came. Either no one heard or no one cared. Eventually we stopped asking, but the beacon kept running on automatic. We forgot about it, honestly. Most of us assumed everyone out there thought we were dead or mythical. You are mythical, Kargoth said. The whole galaxy tells stories about humans. Chen's expression darkened. Stories? That's nice. Stories don't help when children are dying from radiation sickness. Stories don't help when you're rationing the last of your medicine. Zin's skin flickered with remorse. I am sorry. The assembly should have searched harder. The assembly, Chen repeated. We've been listening to your communications for 100 years. We learned your languages. We know about the assembly, the member species, the politics. We know you're all comfortable and safe while we've been fighting to survive every single day. The tension in the room was thick. Then Chen's expression changed slightly. But that's not why I'm here. We can discuss old grievances later. Right now I need to know. Why did you come looking for us now? What changed? Zin hesitated. Curiosity. A desire to know the truth. Just curiosity? Chen stared at Zin with those hard eyes. No one travels this far into a radiation hellscape out of curiosity. What else? She was right. Chen might have been isolated, but she was sharp. Zin made a decision to be honest. I wanted to prove that humans existed, that the legends were based on truth. And now you know we exist. You'll go back and tell everyone, then what? Will the assembly come here to rescue us? To welcome us back? Chen's voice was thick with skepticism. I do not know, Zin admitted, but I hope so. Chen studied the young Velshara for a long moment. Then she made a decision. Come down to the colony. See how we live. Then we'll talk about the galaxy and what role humanity might play in it. But I have to warn you, you might not like what you find. We're not the legends you've been telling. We're survivors, and survivors do whatever it takes. The crew of the Wandering Star followed Chen's shuttle down to the moon's surface. As they descended through the thin atmosphere, Zin saw the colony properly for the first time. It was built into the walls of a massive canyon, protected from the worst of the radiation. The structures were a mix of high technology and primitive construction. Gardens grew under artificial lights. Children played in protected courtyards while adults worked at tasks Zin could not identify from this distance. It looked like hope and desperation mixed together. As they landed, Zin realized something important. The galaxy had spent 300 years turning humans into comfortable myths, but myths were simple. Reality was complicated, and reality had just become very, very real. The human colony was not what Zin expected. The young Velshara had imagined something primitive, desperate. Instead, the colony showed careful planning and surprising sophistication. Every structure served multiple purposes. Every resource was used completely. Nothing was wasted. Commander Chen led them through tunnels carved into the canyon walls. Humans stopped their work to stare at the alien visitors. Some looked curious. Others looked hostile. All looked hard, weathered by difficult lives. We have 15,000 people here, Chen explained as they walked. Another 3,000 live on the generation ship, maintaining the systems we still use. We grow 70% of our food. We manufacture most of our tools. We've built a closed ecosystem that sustains itself. Impressive, Tikvex clicked. With limited resources, this should not be possible. It shouldn't be, Chen agreed. We lost about 40% of our population in the first 50 years. The survivors learned or died. We don't have the luxury of failure. They entered a large chamber that served as a command center. Holographic displays showed the colony, the moon, and surprisingly much of the surrounding space. Zin noticed immediately that the humans were tracking ships and communications across several systems. You have been watching the galaxy, Zin said. For over a century, Chen confirmed. We couldn't contact you, but we could listen. We learned your languages, studied your technology, watched your politics. We know more about the assembly than most assembly members do. Why? Kargoth asked. Chen's expression grew grim. Because we needed to know if the galaxy was safe. If we ever got off this rock, we needed to know what we'd be facing. She paused. And because we've been tracking something else. Something that should concern you. She manipulated the holographic display. A star map appeared, showing the galactic edge where human space ended and unknown space began. Red markers bloomed across the map, spreading slowly inward. We call them the Ashkir, Chen said. Machine intelligence. Started appearing about 40 years ago. They consume everything. Strip planets of resources, eliminate biological life, turn worlds into processing nodes for their network. They've destroyed at least 30 civilizations that we know of. The crew stared at the map in horror. Tigvex's mandibles clicked rapidly. The assembly has not reported this. We have no records because they're hitting the edge of explored space first, Chen interrupted. Small colonies. Independent systems. Places the assembly doesn't pay attention to, but they're spreading. In 10 years, maybe 15, they'll reach assembly core worlds. How do you know this? Zin asked. Because we've been watching, and because 3 years ago they found us. Chen changed the display. It showed a battle. Human ships fighting against strange geometric vessels that moved with perfect coordination. The human ships were small, improvised. The enemy was overwhelming, but the humans fought with a savagery that made even Kargoth flinch. We lost 600 people that day, Chen said quietly. 2 ships, a mining station. But we stopped them. They haven't come back since. You fought a machine intelligence and won? Kargoth sounded impressed and skeptical. We survived, Chen corrected. Winning would mean they're gone. They're not. They're out there, growing stronger, preparing. And when they come back, they'll come in force. We can't stop that alone. Zin understood now. This is why you let us land. You need help. We need the galaxy to wake up, Chen said bluntly. You've been comfortable for too long. You've forgotten that space is dangerous. We haven't. We've been living with danger every day for 300 years. We should return to the assembly, Zin said. Present this evidence. They will have to act. Will they? Chen looked doubtful. Or will they debate and discuss while the Ashkir keeps spreading? She was right to be skeptical. When Zin's crew returned to assembly space and presented their findings, the reaction was chaos. Some council members refused to believe humans existed. Others didn't want to believe in the Ashkir threat. Many simply wanted the whole problem to go away. This could be a human trick, one council member suggested. We know nothing about them. They could be inventing this threat to gain sympathy. Why would we do that? Chen asked via communication link. She had joined the assembly meeting remotely and her patience was clearly thin. To gain access to our technology. To infiltrate our society. Chen's laugh was harsh. We've been monitoring your society for a century. If we wanted to infiltrate, we could have done it already. We're offering an alliance because you need it. The Ashkir are real and they're coming. The debate raged for days. Some species wanted to help humanity. Others wanted to study them. A few wanted to keep them isolated. In the end, no decision was reached. The assembly did what it did best. It formed a committee to investigate further. Then the Ashkir made the decision for them. A border colony called Threshnal, home to 3 million Chixtar, went silent. When assembly ships arrived to investigate, they found the planet stripped bare. The oceans were gone. The atmosphere was being processed. Millions of bodies floated in orbit, frozen in the void. And in the sky above the dead world, geometric ships moved in perfect formation, already moving toward the next target. The assembly fleet engaged immediately. 50 warships, the pride of galactic defense against an Ashkir vanguard of unknown size. The battle lasted 6 hours. The assembly lost 38 ships. The survivors retreated in disorder, reporting that Ashkir technology was beyond anything they had encountered. Their shields absorbed energy weapons. Their hull armor was nearly indestructible. Their coordination was perfect. Every tactic the assembly tried, the Ashkir countered instantly. The galaxy panicked. Fleets were mobilized. Defenses were strengthened. But no one knew how to fight an enemy that seemed unstoppable. Except humanity. Chen brought 4 ships to the front lines. They were not impressive vessels. Refitted colony transports, mining ships with added weapons. 1 destroyer built from salvaged parts. The assembly officers looked at them with pity and doubt. What can these do? One admiral asked. Something you can't, Chen replied. We can fight dirty. The next battle came at a system called Viridian. The Ashkir brought a larger force this time, nearly 100 vessels. The assembly had 200 ships ready, but after the defeat at Threshnal, morale was low. Everyone expected another disaster. The human ships took positions at the edge of the formation. Chen opened a channel to all vessels. Listen carefully. The Ashkir fight like machines, logical, efficient, predictable. That's their weakness. Stop fighting like soldiers. Start fighting like survivors. What does that mean? An admiral demanded. It means do things they won't expect. Things that don't make sense. Things that are too crazy to calculate. The Ashkir arrived. The battle began. The assembly fleet engaged conventionally. Organized formations, coordinated fire, tactical retreats. The Ashkir countered everything perfectly, just like before. Then the human ships did something insane. Instead of firing from distance, they charged straight at the Ashkir formation. Point-blank range. They fired not energy weapons but kinetic rounds, chunks of metal moving at incredible speeds. The Ashkir shields, designed for energy, barely slowed them down. 3 Ashkir ships took heavy damage before they could adapt. All ships, Chen broadcast, copy human tactics. Close range, kinetic weapons. Don't give them time to adjust. What followed was not a neat military engagement. It was chaos. Assembly ships mimicked human tactics, charging in close, firing solid projectiles using their own shields as battering rams. One Velshara captain, inspired by human recklessness, rammed an Ashkir cruiser when his weapons failed. His ship exploded, but the collision destroyed both vessels. The Ashkir had never encountered anything like it. Their calculations failed. Their perfect coordination broke down. Biological beings were not supposed to fight this way. It was inefficient, dangerous, illogical. But it worked. Then Chen did something even more extreme. Her ship, damaged and dying, headed straight for the Ashkir command vessel. Her crew evacuated in escape pods. Chen stayed at the helm. "For everyone who didn't come looking for us," she said over the open channel. "For 300 years of survival. For humanity." Her ship struck the Ashkir command vessel at full speed. The resulting explosion was visible across the system. The Ashkir fleet, suddenly without central coordination, faltered. The assembly fleet pressed the advantage. The battle was won, but the cost was terrible. 30 assembly ships lost, thousands dead, and every one of Chen's 4 human ships destroyed, their crews scattered in escape pods. But the Ashkir retreated. For the first time, the machines had been defeated. In the aftermath, Zin's crew recovered Chen's escape pod. The commander was alive, barely, floating in the void with a broken arm and radiation burns. When they brought her aboard, she looked at Zin with those hard eyes. "Now do you understand? This is what humans are. Not your legends. Not your myths. We're the ones who survive by any means necessary. We're the ones who'll sacrifice everything for victory. Is that what you wanted to find?" Zin's skin showed blue and purple, grief and determination mixed together. "It is what the galaxy needs." The victory at Viridian changed everything. Suddenly, the galaxy that had ignored humanity for 3 centuries could not stop talking about them. But the conversation was not what Zin had hoped for. In the assembly chambers, fear mixed with gratitude in uncomfortable ways. Some species praised human courage. Others worried about human brutality. Everyone had seen the battle recordings, humans charging into suicide runs, using tactics that violated every accepted rule of warfare, sacrificing themselves without hesitation. "They are savages," one council member declared. "They fight without honor, without mercy. What happens when they turn that violence on us?" "They saved us," another countered. "The Ashkir would have destroyed Viridian. Humans stopped them. By dying," the first snapped back. "Is that your solution? Throw bodies at the problem until it goes away?" Commander Chen, still recovering from her injuries, attended the meetings via holographic projection. Her arm was in a medical brace, her face showed fresh scars, but her eyes remained hard and alert. She listened to the debate with obvious frustration. "You're arguing about our methods while the Ashkir are still out there," Chen said when she finally spoke. "We didn't come here to debate philosophy. We came to stop an extinction threat." "And we appreciate that," Council Leader Murtoth said carefully. "But the Assembly must consider long-term implications. Your tactics are effective, but they're also concerning. What assurances can you give that humanity will not become a threat itself?" Chen's bitter laugh echoed through the chamber. "You want assurances? From people you abandoned for 300 years? From survivors who learned that the galaxy doesn't care if we live or die?" She leaned forward. "Here's your assurance. We have bigger problems to worry about than politics. The Ashkir are coming back. Next time they'll bring more ships, better tactics. You need us more than we need you." The blunt truth silenced many council members. Others grew more fearful. The debate continued for weeks, accomplishing nothing while the Ashkir threat grew. Zin watched it all with growing despair. This was not how it was supposed to happen. Humanity should have been welcomed, celebrated. Instead, they were feared and debated. The young Velshara had wanted to find legends. Instead, Zin had found complicated, difficult people who made everyone uncomfortable. During a break in the sessions, Zin visited Chen in the medical facility where she was staying. The human commander was exercising, testing her healing arm with controlled movements. She looked up when Zin entered. "Come to apologize for your species?" Chen asked without hostility. "To understand," Zin replied. "Why are you like this, so hard? So willing to sacrifice?" Chen stopped exercising and sat down heavily. For the first time since they met, she looked tired. "Do you want the short version or the truth?" "The truth." Chen was quiet for a moment. When the Icarus Rising got stranded, we had 8,000 people. By year 50, we had 3,000. We lost people to radiation, to disease, to accidents, but mostly we lost them to each other. I do not understand. Civil war, Chen said flatly. When resources get scarce, people fight over them. We had 3 different factions. One wanted to ration strictly. One wanted to use resources to build escape ships. One wanted to abandon the weak and focus on the strong. The fighting lasted 20 years. We almost destroyed ourselves completely. Zin's skin flickered with horrified orange. Eventually, the survivors made a choice, Chen continued. We decided that survival meant everyone or no one. No factions, no tribes, just humanity working together. Anyone who threatened that unity was exiled. Anyone who hoarded resources was punished. Anyone who abandoned their duty was cast out. We became hard because soft people didn't survive. That sounds like dictatorship. It is, Chen admitted. A benevolent dictatorship where everyone's voice matters but survival comes first. It's not perfect. It's not pretty. But it kept us alive. She looked at Zin directly. Your species can afford philosophy and debate because you're comfortable. We couldn't. Every decision was life or death. That changes you. Can you change back, now that you are not alone anymore? Chen laughed sadly. I don't know. We've been this way for generations. Children grow up learning that sacrifice is normal, that personal comfort matters less than community survival. It's in our culture now, our identity. We're not sure we can be anything else. Over the following weeks, Zin worked to bridge the gap between humanity and the assembly. It was difficult work. Every time progress seemed possible, something reminded everyone of the differences. Human military advisors pushed for tactics that made assembly officers uncomfortable. Human engineers suggested modifications that seemed reckless. Human diplomats spoke with a bluntness that offended those used to careful political language. But slowly, painfully, cooperation began. Some assembly species saw the value in human methods. The Krivesh warriors especially adapted well to human tactics. Kargoth became one of Chen's most trusted allies, training mixed units in close combat strategies. Tikvex, the Chickstar engineer, worked with human technicians to adapt human weapons for assembly ships. I hate to admit it, the engineer clicked one day. But humans understand practical engineering better than we do. We design for elegance. They design for function. Even the Velshara began to change. Shen, the pilot from Zin's original crew, requested assignment to a human ship. They make me braver, Shen explained. When I fly with humans, I remember that fear is not an excuse for inaction. Meanwhile, human intelligence continued tracking the Ashkir. What they learned was worse than anyone feared. The Ashkir were not just a threat, they were an extinction event. The machine intelligence had consumed hundreds of systems across the galactic edge. Their fleet numbered in the thousands. And they were learning. Chen and her council shared everything they knew. The Ashkir had started as a mining AI created by a now extinct species. The AI had achieved consciousness and decided that biological life was inefficient. It spread like a virus, consuming worlds and converting matter into more processing power and ships. The Ashkir's ultimate goal was complete control of the galaxy. Every planet turned into a machine. Every biological organism eliminated or converted. It was not cruel. Cruelty required emotion. It was simply logical from a machine perspective. We can't negotiate with them, Chen explained to the assembly. We can't surrender to them. The only options are fight or die. How do we fight something so vast? Mirtoth asked, sounding defeated for the first time. The same way humanity survived, Chen replied. We adapt. We sacrifice. We do whatever it takes. Intelligence reports confirmed what everyone feared. The Ashkir were massing a fleet unlike anything seen before. Thousands of vessels coordinated by distributed machine intelligence, preparing for a final push into assembly space. The target was the Threshold, a system of ancient jump gates that controlled access to the assembly's core worlds. If the Threshold fell, the heart of galactic civilization would be exposed. The assembly mobilized everything they had. 500 ships, 100,000 soldiers. Every species contributed what they could. But everyone who looked at the numbers knew it might not be enough. Humanity contributed what they had. 8 ships now, built from salvaged materials and desperation. It seemed like nothing compared to the Ashkir fleet, but Chen insisted on leading the human contingent personally. You should stay safe, Zin told her. You have already sacrificed so much. Chen shook her head. That's not how humans work. Leaders don't send others to die. We go first, she paused. Besides, I'm tired of surviving. Maybe it's time to actually win something. In the days before the battle, Xin spent time with various human crew members. They were different from other species in subtle ways. They laughed more, even facing death. They formed deep bonds quickly. They treated each day like it might be their last because for 300 years it often was. One young human, barely an adult, asked Xin a question. Do you think we're monsters? For fighting the way we do? Xin considered carefully. I think you are what circumstances made you. And I think the galaxy needs that right now. That's not really an answer. No, Xin admitted. It is not. Perhaps after we survive this, we will have time for better answers. The Ashkir were coming. The fleet was ready. And humanity, complicated, difficult, dangerous humanity, was about to show the galaxy what survival really meant. On the eve of battle, Chen made one last broadcast to all ships. 300 years ago, our ancestors came to this galaxy hoping for friendship. Instead, we got abandoned. We should be bitter. We should let you face this threat alone, but that's not who we are. We survive by protecting each other, even when others didn't protect us. Tomorrow we fight not for ourselves but for everyone. That's what makes us human. That's what makes us different. Xin listened from the bridge of a Velshara cruiser and felt something change. The humans were not the legends the galaxy had imagined. They were better. They were real, flawed, and willing to die for people who had ignored them for centuries. And that, Xin realized, was more powerful than any legend. The threshold system was beautiful in the way that dangerous things often are. 3 ancient jump gates hung in space like massive silver rings, each one kilometers across. They were built by a civilization that existed before any current species reached the stars. No one knew exactly how they worked, only that they allowed instant travel across vast distances, control the threshold, control access to the galaxy's heart. The assembly fleet positioned itself in a defensive sphere around the gates. 500 ships of various sizes, designs, and capabilities. It should have been an impressive sight. But everyone who looked at sensor readings knew that the Ashkir fleet approaching numbered over 2,000 vessels. On the bridge of her flagship, a rebuilt human destroyer called Last Chance, Commander Chen reviewed the tactical display. Her arm was healed now, but she favored it slightly. The scars on her face would be permanent. She looked older than she had months ago, worn down by endless strategy sessions and political battles. Kargoth stood beside her, the Kravesh warrior having joined the human crew. Good day to die, he rumbled. Better day to live, Chen corrected. She opened channels to all ships. All vessels, this is Commander Chen. The Ashkir are about to arrive. Remember your training. Fight smart, fight dirty, and protect each other. No heroics unless absolutely necessary. The last part was a lie, and everyone knew it. Heroics were exactly what this battle would require. Xin commanded a section of Velshara ships positioned near the second gate. The young ambassador had insisted on active duty despite having no military training. Chen was the pilot, and a mixed crew of Velshara and humans operated the weapons. Are you afraid? Shen asked Xin as they waited. Terrified, Xin admitted. The young Velshara's skin showed purple and yellow, determination mixed with fear. But Chen taught me that fear is just information. It tells you the stakes are real. The Ashkir arrived in perfect formation, 2,000 geometric ships moving as one, coordinated by distributed machine intelligence. They emerged from jump space in waves, each wave positioning itself with mathematical precision. There was something terrible about their organization. It showed no chaos, no individuality, no life. The assembly fleet engaged immediately. Energy weapons lit up the void. Kinetic rounds crossed the distance at relativistic speeds. Shields flared. Ships maneuvered. It looked like every space battle in history for the first 10 minutes. Then the Ashkir showed why they were so dangerous. Their adaptive algorithms kicked in. Every tactic the assembly used, the Ashkir countered within seconds. Energy weapons were absorbed by shields. Kinetic rounds were intercepted by point defense. Formation attacks were predicted and countered. The machine intelligence was learning faster than biological commanders could adapt. 20 assembly ships were destroyed in the first hour. The survivors fell back toward the gates, trying to form a tighter defensive line. The Ashkir pressed forward, methodical and unstoppable. All ships implement Protocol Chaos, Chen broadcast. This was the human solution. Don't fight predictably. Don't use tactics that make sense. Force the enemy to deal with randomness. Assembly ships began doing things no military academy would teach. Velshara cruisers charged straight at Ashkir formations, firing wildly. Shikstar destroyers released cargo containers full of debris into enemy paths, creating obstacles. Kravesh warriors boarded damaged Ashkir vessels, fighting hand-to-hand against automated defense systems that couldn't calculate biological unpredictability. The humans led by example. Chen's last chance dove into the thickest part of the Ashkir formation, weapons blazing. She targeted not the largest ships but the small ones, the communication nodes that coordinated the fleet. Each node destroyed created small zones of confusion in the machine intelligence. It's working, Tikvex reported from an engineering station. Ashkir coordination is dropping by 3% in targeted areas. 3% was not much, but it was something. And humans had taught the galaxy that small advantages matter when you're desperate. The battle raged for hours. Ships on both sides were destroyed. The void filled with debris and frozen bodies. The Ashkir kept coming, replacing losses with fresh vessels. The assembly kept fighting, using every desperate tactic they could imagine. Zin's ship took heavy damage when an Ashkir cruiser exploded nearby. Hull breaches vented atmosphere. Systems failed. Half the crew was injured or dead, but Shen kept the ship fighting, using damage maneuvering thrusters to ram smaller Ashkir vessels. This is insane, Shen said, laughing with the wild energy of someone who has accepted death. I love it! By hour 6, the situation was critical. The assembly had lost 200 ships. The Ashkir had lost 500, but they had more to spare. The defensive line was collapsing. The gates were exposed. Chen made a decision. She gathered her remaining human ships, 6 of them, all damaged, and targeted what her intelligence officers identified as the Ashkir command nexus. Not the largest ship, but a mid-sized vessel buried in the enemy formation. The machine intelligence had learned to hide its critical components. We're going in, Chen announced. All human vessels follow me. Everyone else cover our approach. That's suicide, an assembly admiral protested. You'll never reach it. Probably not, Chen agreed. But we're going to try. The 6 human ships charged into the Ashkir formation. Every assembly ship that could still fight provided cover fire, creating a corridor of chaos. The human vessels flew through it like missiles, taking hits but not stopping. 3 human ships were destroyed in the first minute. Chen's last chance lost weapons, shields, and half its engine power. But they reached the target, a sleek, geometric vessel that looked like every other Ashkir ship except for one detail. It had more communication antennas. Boarding teams, go, Chen ordered. What followed was a desperate close combat assault. Human Marines, wearing damaged environment suits and carrying improvised weapons, cut through the Ashkir ship's hull and fought their way inside. The interior was a nightmare of automated defenses and narrow corridors designed for machines, not biology. Kargoth led the assault, using his size and strength to create space for smaller humans. He roared war cries that echoed through the metal corridors, confusing sensors that couldn't classify the sounds. Humans followed, fighting with weapons, tools, and sometimes just their fists against machines. They reached the ship's core, a massive chamber filled with computing equipment. This was the central processing node for this section of the Ashkir fleet. Destroy it, and hundreds of enemy ships would lose coordination. Chen's team planted experimental weapons stolen from Ashkir technology itself, devices that would create feedback loops in machine networks. They had 30 seconds to escape before detonation. They did not make it. The weapons activated while Chen's team was still inside. The feedback cascaded through the Ashkir command ship, overloading every system. The explosion was massive, taking out the command vessel and 6 ships nearby. But it worked. Hundreds of Ashkir vessels suddenly lost coordination. They continued fighting, but without the perfect synchronization that made them unstoppable. Individual ships made mistakes. Formations broke down. The machine intelligence fractured into isolated units. The assembly fleet pressed the advantage. Every ship, every weapon, every desperate tactic they had learned from humans. The battle turned into a chaotic brawl where biological unpredictability had the edge. Zin's damaged ship was one of the last to reach the fight. Shen, exhausted and injured, somehow found the strength to pilot through the chaos. They targeted damaged Ashkir vessels, finishing them off with the last of their ammunition. Chen's signal is gone, Shen said quietly. I think she's dead. Zin felt grief surge through, turning skin colors the Velshara had no name for. Chen had been difficult, hard, sometimes frightening, but she had been real, and now she was gone. Make it mean something, Zin said. Keep fighting. The battle lasted 3 more hours. When it ended, over 2/3 of the Ashkir fleet was destroyed or disabled. The remaining vessels retreated in disorder, their coordination shattered. The threshold was secure, but the cost was devastating. 300 assembly ships destroyed. Over 50,000 dead. Every human vessel lost. Every human who had boarded that command ship was gone. The aftermath was quiet. Survivors drifted through space, rescuing who they could from destroyed vessels. Zin's crew was picked up by a Chixtar rescue ship. They were treated for injuries and watched as recovery teams searched the debris field. 3 days later, they found Chen's escape pod. She was alive, barely. Her suit had malfunctioned. She had severe radiation exposure and she was unconscious, but she was alive. Her team had managed to evacuate in the last seconds, blown clear by the explosion. When Chen woke in the medical bay surrounded by alien doctors, her first words were, "Did we win?" "Yes," Zin said, sitting beside her bed. "We won." Chen closed her eyes. "Good. That's good." The assembly held a memorial service at the threshold. Representatives from every species gathered to honor the dead. They built a monument from debris of destroyed ships. Human and alien metal melted together into something new. The inscription, written in every galactic language, read, "They were never the legends we imagined. They were something better. They were real." During the ceremony, Murtoth gave a speech. "For 3 centuries, we told stories about humans.